Channel 5.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Election 84, the day after. In Los Angeles, President Reagan today savored his landslide sweep of everything coast to coast except the Mondale home state of Minnesota and the District of Columbia. Today, Mr. Reagan pledged no new taxes to knock back the huge budget deficit. And Walter Mondale today called that crow that Mr. Reagan will have to eat. Bill Plant reports on President Reagan's first news conference post-election, and Susan Spencer reports on Walter Mondale's last news conference post-mortem.
Ronald Reagan made it clear today he sees his victory as a mandate from the majority.
Well, I feel that the people of this country made it very plain that they approved what we've been doing, and we're going to continue what we've been doing, and if need be, we'll take our case to the people.
Again, the president went out of his way to put down speculation that he'd have to raise taxes.
My position is solid. We're not going to try to deal with the deficit problem by raising taxes.
Mr. Reagan said there'd be new spending cuts from a government he called still larded with a lot of fat, but he promised to protect the needy.
What we've called the safety net is still a top priority with us, and we're going to maintain that safety net. Now,
and what about presidential accessibility in the second term?
Commit yourself to a regular press conference schedule now that you're re-elected?
Look, I won. I don't have to subject myself to...
As the president headed for vacation on his ranch, the political jockeying about what the election meant was just getting underway.
Clearly, the real message that's out there is that the old-style liberalism of the Humphrey Mondale Johnson era is sort of been repudiated by the American public.
The real battle for some weeks, maybe a few months, is for the heart and mind of Ronald Reagan.
Conservatives like fundraiser Richard Viguerie think the Reagan team is too moderate. They're lobbying to have key staff members fired and replaced with right-wingers. The right wing is doomed to lose that battle as long as its main target, Chief of Staff James Baker, remains on the job. And right now, sources say there are no plans to make major changes in the White House staff or the cabinet. That'll mean no shift of priorities in the second Reagan term. Bill Plant, CBS News, Santa Barbara.
Sadly, but seemingly without bitterness, Mondale made his announcement.
I have no plans for seeking the presidency or any other elective office again.
He said he had few regrets about the campaign, that it simply was hard to run against a popular incumbent in apparently good economic times. And Mondale said he was not sorry that he'd promised to raise taxes.
I believe that one of the biggest meals of crow that this administration will eat, and there will be several, will be this one concerning revenues.
The job was made harder, Mondale said, because he just couldn't master television, as he said a politician today must.
I think, you know, I've never really warmed up to television. And in fairness to television, it's never really warmed up to me. And I, by instinct and tradition, I never like, I don't like these things, as a matter of fact.
Mondale said it scares him that television may take all the substance out of American politics. And when did he know that his own cause was lost?
I would say that that my chances of winning probably disappeared at the end of the second debate. My feeling was that if we'd had the same kind of verdict, which I doubted we'd have in the second debate, that I then had a chance to win.
But it was not to be, so Mondale said goodbye to his ever-loyal Minnesota and headed home in his plane, the Louisville Slugger, which by request made one low-flying pass over Washington before its last landing. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
While Walter Mondale may have lost his shirt in electoral votes, Ronald Reagan's coattails stopped short in Congress. The president lost some Republican ground in the Senate. He failed to grab the policy-making keys to the House from the Democrats. Bob Schieffer looks tonight at what that may mean to President Reagan and to you in the coming months and years.
Ronald Reagan got a mandate in the country last night and a headache on Capitol Hill. For the last 4 years, the Republicans have held 55 seats in the Senate, the Democrats 45. But with last night's turnovers, the GOP will now have only 53 seats, the Democrats 47. and new liberal Democratic senators will complicate Ronald Reagan's life. Paul Simon of Illinois, Albert Gore Jr. of Tennessee, Iowa's Tom Harkin, West Virginia's Jay Rockefeller, and Massachusetts' John Kerry will mean rougher going for some of the administration's key programs. The Senate Republicans' Majority Leader Howard Baker is retiring. 5 Republican senators are campaigning hard to replace him. No one has emerged yet as a frontrunner. Charles Percy's defeat in Illinois leaves the Foreign Relations Committee without a chairman. Ultra-conservative Jesse Helms, who won re-election last night, is in line to replace Percy. But he promised home state voters he wouldn't take the job because that would mean giving up the chairmanship of the Agriculture Committee, important to North Carolina's tobacco growers. Now, however, there's speculation that right-wingers might encourage Helms to change his mind and take the Foreign Relations job just to keep a more liberal senator from getting it. In the House, the Democrats kept their sizable majority. The Republicans picked up only 14 seats, but they say the Reagan landslide may make House Democrats more cautious about opposing the president's programs.
But with an ideological gridlock emerging in the Senate, the president will get no free rides here next year. He'll have to work hard for every legislative victory. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, the Capitol.
Form that follows function. Optimal thrust, intelligence, elegance. Every inch, every edge, engineered to perfection. The shape of things to come has come. The Audi 5000S, sedan, wagon, turbo. Audi, the art of engineering.
There are lots of ways to communicate over long distances, but with some, you may not be able to reach everywhere you want, anytime you want. And a faraway message may feel far away. But you can always count on AT&T, the only long-distance service that lets you call from anywhere to anywhere with operators standing by. And with AT&T, your calls will sound as close as next door. So why settle for anything less? AT&T, the more you hear, the better we sound.
Reach out and touch someone.
The Reagan administration and Nicaragua's Sandinista regime, never friendly in the best of times, were at verbal odds again today because of a possible shipment of Soviet combat aircraft. David Martin at the Pentagon reports.
The Soviet freighter Bakuriani pulled into the Nicaraguan port of Corinto today, carrying a mystery cargo which could lead to a showdown between the Sandinista government and a re-elected Ronald Reagan.
We have informed them that for them to bring something that is absolutely unnecessary to them, these high-performance craft in here, indicates that they are contemplating being a threat to their neighbors here in the Americas.
The president was referring to MiG-21s. U.S. officials say there is circumstantial evidence that as many as a dozen may be on board the Soviet ship. Last September, an American satellite watched the ship being loaded at a Black Sea port. Bad weather obscured the view. When the weather cleared, the ship was gone, and so were some crates of the kind used to transport MiG-21s. U.S. Navy planes shadowed the ship on its journey, and when it bypassed its expected destination of Peru, Washington became alarmed enough to issue new warnings.
The Soviet Union and Nicaragua are aware of the gravity of the statements we have made.
A senior Sandinista official hotly denied that any MiGs are en route to Nicaragua.
It is a total lie that on that boat, on any other boat, there are MiG planes that have come or are coming to Nicaragua.
Normally, the port of Corinto is closed when a military cargo comes in, but today there was no security around when a CBS News camera was allowed to take these pictures.
So the truth about what really is on board that Soviet ship will have to wait until after its cargo is unloaded. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
D'Escoto also charged that Nicaraguan waters and airspace had been violated by a U.S. warship and American planes, something the Pentagon flatly denied. Nevertheless, Nicaragua's government ordered preparations for a general mobilization. Twice in less than 24 hours, President Reagan has made conciliatory gestures toward the Soviet Union. Last night he said, quote, "It is time for us to get together and try to clear the air." At today's news conference, Mr. Reagan indicated again his willingness for a summit meeting and urged renewed arms control talks with Moscow. As for the Soviets, they celebrated the 67th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution with a Moscow parade today of military pomp and power. Mark Phillips was there.
The Soviets let their tanks roll through Red Square in their annual Revolution Day parade today before they officially reacted to the U.S. election results. But it was obvious from the parade alone that the Russian attitude to Ronald Reagan had not changed because of the vote. Reagan is still seen as the actor whose mask hides his real intentions of world domination. He was still the White House hawk, stirring on the arms race and the main obstacle to peace. The Soviets later said in an official telegram of congratulations to President Reagan that they hoped the coming years would see an improvement in relations. Soviet leader Konstantin Chernenko led the official party onto the Lenin Mausoleum to view the parade. He seemed relatively well and said at a reception afterward that he was looking for more than verbal assurances of peaceable intentions from Washington. He said nothing about a possible summit meeting. Absent from the reviewing stand was 76-year-old Defense Minister Dmitry Ustinov, who should have had a major role today. Another Politburo member, Viktor Grishin, said Ustinov had a cold. Western observers said that to miss today's parade, Ustinov must have a very bad cold indeed. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Moscow.
Walter is a worrier, worrying about how all the money in his company's pension fund is doing. Investments do have their ups and downs. He could let the travelers worry about it. We think, to be fair, the people who depend on us should get the best. So we've gotten in some of the best financial minds in the business. So far, they've made us one of the top 10 pension fund managers in the country. So Walter went with the travelers and relaxed happily ever after. At the Travelers, we believe fairness is good business.
When you need a laxative, who do you trust?
In this job, X-Lax.
X-Lax pills help get your body's natural rhythm going again to provide gentle relief overnight.
It works when I want it to.
Gentle X-Lax pills helps your body help itself.
Not one of these remedies has the strongest ingredient for gas pains and pressure. Gas X does. For fast relief, get Gas X with the strongest, fastest gas reliever you can buy. Gas X.
The Republicans failed to take away policy control of Congress from the Democrats, and that may be some consolation, but no consolation on another score for the Democrats. For the New Deal coalition Democratic Party of FDR, the party's over. Bruce Morton reports.
I pledge myself to a new deal for the American people.
The election completed the breakdown of the old New Deal Democratic coalition. Look at what happened to its parts. Catholics, they voted Republican for president. Union households, another traditional Democratic bloc, not quite Republican, but the Reagan-Bush ticket got 45% of them, up a bit from 4 years ago. The one group that stayed loyal was black voters, 90% for Mondale Ferraro. But that wasn't enough to make up for white flight to the Republicans. The last time a Democratic presidential ticket carried whites was 1964. Yesterday, whites went for Reagan-Bush by roughly 2-1. Among Southern whites, the margin was even bigger. The old coalition is no more. Take it from a loser, Nancy Dick, the defeated Senate candidate from Colorado.
The old leaders aren't delivering tonight, and the old power blocks aren't controlling the votes tonight.
It's fitting, probably, that the old liberal coalition died under the banner of Walter Mondale, himself an old-fashioned New Deal liberal. But it seems clear that if the Democrats are to recover, they'll have to take a different approach, fashion some new issues which appeal to the white middle class. We'll be hearing some new voices in the months ahead.
We can't take the wish list of labor and the wish list of the teachers and the wish list of the blacks and Hispanics, add them all together and make a party. There's got to be a broader vision.
I think that the National Democratic Party must get out into the field and try to learn from some of the experiences that we've had being successful out in the American heartland.
The Democrats will be looking in new directions because the election broke their old coalition. That doesn't necessarily mean that the Republicans will dominate politics for years to come. Dan?
Thank you, Bruce. While in one respect the story of this election is about the failure of an old coalition to deliver, it is also the story of a history-making first that failed. Phil Jones reports the Ferraro factor.
Watch closely.
Walter Mondale and Geraldine Ferraro did something in public today that was simply never done during the campaign. They hugged each other, but only after Ferraro had cleared it with Mondale in a telephone call. Ferraro never promised Mondale that she could carry him. She only maintained that in a close race, she could be worth a couple of points, drawing on her natural constituencies, women, Catholics, ethnics, and the Northeast. In the end, she didn't deliver. Mr. Reagan carried all those categories. And Ferraro also brought her own baggage to the Democratic ticket. Valuable time was lost on the controversy surrounding her family finances and her long public feud with the Catholic Church over her pro-choice abortion stand. But it was clear today that the first woman vice presidential nominee wasn't about to take the blame for this disaster.
This election is a personal victory for President Reagan and nothing else.
And there was even a jibe at Mondale when Ferraro talked about strategy for the future.
We may have to figure out how to get our candidates to do a little bit better on television.
What about Ferraro's future? Last night, her husband saw a winner in this loss.
Geraldine Ferraro's the winner.
Exit polls in New York indicate that as of now, she has an even chance in the New York Senate race in '86. But her immediate plans are to lose the 10 pounds she gained, write a book, and make big money in the private world. As Ferraro put it today, now I'll have to start paying at the tollways. And from now on, those motorcades are gone, and those tough New York cops won't be there to clear her way.
Take that Coke Clements out of here! Get out of here now!
Bill Jones, CBS News, New York.
A study appearing tomorrow links cigarette smoking, already blamed for heart attacks, to a rare but lethal disease that weakens the heart's pumping power. Other studies show that men who smoke cigarettes are 2 to 3 times more likely than non-smokers to die from heart attacks, which usually result when a section of heart muscle dies from lack of oxygen. But the report in the New England Journal of Medicine notes the disease called cardiomyopathy is a generalized weakness that is spread through the heart. A researcher speculates the disease results when nicotine or carbon monoxide in the smoke somehow poisons the heart. Several banks today lowered their prime lending rates by 1/4 point to 11.75%. That's the 4th cut in the prime rate in the past 6 weeks, and the first time it had been below 12% since early April. The prime often indicates the direction of lending charges generally, including mortgage rates.
It has come to our attention that a few of you still think all Buicks are nice big cars. So here's a little reminder. Skyhawk. And for the handful who believe all Buicks are smooth and comfortable but not racy enough, a quick answer. Skyhawk. Just when you think you know all there is to know about Buick, we throw you a curve. Now, wouldn't you really rather have a Buick?
Judith, could you send $350 to Santa Fe? Right away.
Could you possibly send me $709? And hurry.
Dad, is there any way you could send the money today?
To send someone money fast, come to Western Union. We'll make sure it gets to any of our 9,000 locations, usually in 15 minutes or less.
Keep in touch.
Western Union, the fastest way to send money.
In Florida today, they weren't releasing the first trial balloons of Campaign 88. These were trial balloons designed to test wind shears, the same high-speed, highly dangerous wind shifts and gusts detected between 20 and 40,000 feet up over Cape Canaveral that caused the scrubbing of today's space shuttle launch. The disappointed mission astronauts returned to quarters after 2 hours on board, assuming the launch position. The launch has been rescheduled for tomorrow, assuming no more ill winds are detected by the latest trial balloons. Meet America's newest space shuttle astronaut, Jake Garn. If the name and face look familiar, it's probably because Jake Garn is also a United States Senator. The Utah Republican is a former Navy pilot and has logged more flight time than many of the astronauts, 10,000 hours. Not coincidentally, Senator Jake Garn is also chairman of a Senate subcommittee that oversees the National Space Agency budget. The NASA Space Agency says other congressional committee members responsible for space agency funding, quote, would be given consideration if they are interested. In his commentary tonight, Bill Moyers notes that Ronald Reagan's version of I Hear America Singing may be part of the reason he was elected to call the tune for another 4 years.
We see an America where every day is the 4th of July
and they see an America where every day is April 15th.
That's a little simplistic, of course, but in its catchy way, together with an upturn in the economy, we have the essence of why Ronald Reagan is the winner and still champion today. Walter Mondale is a decent man who loves his country and has served it honorably, but the chords of his melody did not resonate with the times. He told Americans the one thing they never want to hear, that he would raise their taxes. And he talked about problems when too many people are tired of hearing the worst about themselves. The Hispanic elevator operator grinned broadly this morning when he told me his man had won. When I asked him why he'd voted for the president, he replied, "I remember 4 years ago." He remembered that inflation nearly kept his oldest son from going to medical school, and he remembered, as he put it, the mob shouting at our embassy. He said that President Reagan had made him, a poor man, proud again. The last 2 decades indeed were hard on the nerves of a once buoyant people. America lost a war, lost control of the economy, lost faith in many of its best-intentioned plans to make things better. The scandal of Watergate was grist to critics and salt in the wounds of conservatives who thought prematurely their time had come. The spirit of the country seemed as empty as its pockets during the Depression. Back then, Franklin Roosevelt had talked the country out of despair. Ronald Reagan voted 4 times for FDR and learned from him that morale will move a people where scolding does not. He always tells believers what they want to hear, that they live in the greatest country on earth and can be proud of it. His words resonate with the yearning of Americans for self-worth. Like Roosevelt and John Kennedy before him, he also seems happy in his work. Not for him is the presidency a cross to bear, or malaise a disease to spread. So even if the economy hasn't trickled down to everyone, some of his upbeat mood has. Once it was liberals who celebrated politics and optimism, but the president kept Mondale on the defensive for spreading gloom and doom about the future and for questioning the return of good feelings. A majority shouted loud and clear yesterday that it's not done celebrating or ready to question either. Perhaps these good feelings will last and enable the country to probe itself more deeply. Even if you're the greatest and enjoy being told so, there's always room for improvement. Dan?
Thank you, Bill. In a moment, we'll have a report from the Ivy League and another from the Honeysuckle League.
There's nothing different here.
I'd say something's very different here.
That something is Kellogg's Fruitful Bran. Fruitful Bran is a feast of raisins, dates, and apples, all from Sun-Maid. It's the taste you've been looking for. Discover Kellogg's Fruitful Bran. Discover just how good a fiber cereal can taste.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. And when many adults get a cough, they play doctor at home. They treat their cough with the same medicine they originally bought for their children. They need one of the adult formulas from Vicks, for the coughs adults get with the strength adults need. Formula 44 for coughs, 44D for coughs with congestion, and now Formula 44M for coughs with congestion and a raw, irritated throat. The adult formulas. You can't buy anything more effective.
The adult formulas, from Vicks, of course.
Something wrong, Mindy. Since I switched to rice-a-roni bread stuffing, everybody raves about it. And I worked all day on the rest of the meal. Everything was delicious. It's just that rice-a-roni bread stuffing has real chicken flavor, seasonings, toasted breadcrumbs.
More great stuffing, Mom.
See what I mean?
So switch to rice-a-roni bread stuffing. Goes with any dish. It's not just for stuffing anymore.
The Reagan Revolution, Part 2. We have reports from Bob Simon and Bernard Goldberg tonight on the times they are a-changing America.
It was a landslide, Mondale, by more than 2-1. It was a straw poll at Harvard University, and students were dismayed to discover how out of step they are with the rest of America.
It's very sad to me, and I think a lot of my fellow students, to see the country vote so overwhelmingly different from the way that we very passionately feel.
How did Mondale win the hearts of Harvard? Foreign policy and social justice.
Most of the people here at Harvard are very liberal, and they're very into the environment, welfare, and Social Security.
There was nostalgia as well. Remember, during the Kennedy years, Harvard Yard was almost a branch of government.
When we were in the government, there was more of a concern for social justice in the 1960s.
Hardly surprising, this is Harvard, and this is Massachusetts, one of the most democratic states in the nation. You'd expect college students to be liberal here. Makes sense until you cross over the river to Boston College, a Catholic school where Reagan won a straw poll 2-1. These are the children and grandchildren of the old ethnic neighborhoods, and the issue is the future, their future.
They were happier with what was happening in the economy, and they were looking for their futures.
There's a slippery ladder out there, and BC students think it's time to start climbing.
They're worried about, in 4 years, what they're going to do, where they're going to go to work.
Boston College, in step with America.
Ronald Reagan all the way, bringing back the USA.
Bob Simon, CBS News, Boston.
Madison, Georgia, population 2,980. This is small-town America with a southern accent. When they talk about a Reagan landslide, these are the people behind the statistics. People like Pat Hardy, a farmer.
He's a leader. You know, men like a strong leader, and that's what we need up there.
And James Bannister, who's a doctor.
I like the economy picking up, and things seem like people have hope, and they have pride in themselves and their country.
Clayton Spears voted for every Democratic presidential candidate since FDR, until yesterday.
We got inflation down, the interest down, and putting more people back to work.
Around here, they feel as if Ronald Reagan is one of them. Around here, it's not just the economy that's doing better, so's the country. George Vaughn is a salesman.
He's got people waving the flag and respecting the country, and you don't see anybody burning the flag anymore. I feel much better about the country.
Ronald Reagan made a conscious, concerted effort to win the white, southern, traditionally Democratic vote. He appealed to a kind of old-fashioned America, which isn't an old-fashioned idea down south. This is Norman Rockwell's America, and today, it's also Ronald Reagan's America. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, Madison, Georgia.
And Dan Rather for CBS News. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Introducing Almost Home cookies from Nabisco, the cookies that taste almost homemade.
Oh, they're terrific. They taste almost homemade, but a chocolate chip cookie that's moist and this chewy deserves a name better than almost home. I'll think of a name.
I haven't had a chocolate chip cookie this moist and chewy since I was a kid.
Yeah, but what kind of a name is almost home?
Almost Home cookies in more varieties than maybe even Mom baked.
Nabisco. I've got it. Majestic Interlude. Oh.
That's good, name.
Nowadays, it seems everybody's comparing himself to a banker. Savings and loan folks say they can give you financial counsel like bankers.
And we're just like a bank.
Stockbrokers say they can manage your transactions like bankers.
And we're just like a bank.
When others go so far to say they're like a banker, isn't it nice to know that the one helping you really is a banker? The only place you'll find a banker is the bank.
A message from America's full-service banks.
If it's luxury you appreciate, wait till you see this.
The new 1985 Oldsmobile 98 Regency Brougham.
Goes beyond the 98 in your mind to the 98 of your dreams. A technical marvel from the tread up that lets you ride in quiet and splendor. Sophisticated instrumentation, handsome velour fabrics, and the ultimate in luxury, room for 6. With furs.
There is a special feel in an Oldsmobile.
This is CBS.
Coming up on Eyewitness News at 6, Albert Gore Jr. gets started on a new path, while a Senate upset in Kentucky draws a call for a recount. Details coming up next.
Make a decision.
When Bobby Allison, Bart Starr, and Mickey Mantle go out to dinner, it's one for the book. The South Central Bell Yellow Pages, your most complete source of information.
There's so many options.
You never could call Signal Star.
I'll drive.
If Allison drives, I'm walking.
You win. We go Mexican.
Chinese.
Hey, I found an international restaurant.